Balancing for cross-stepping. Have you been searching for the best balancing exercises and the top drills to improve your balance when cross-stepping? Well, for today, we're going to go through some things and I think it might be really, really helpful. As a physiotherapist and performance surf coach, I've seen firsthand the things that really matter, which actually take people off balance and out of balance when they're trying their cross step, and the real things that work to improve their cross stepping when they're out in the water, when they're surfing. And it's probably not what you're expecting, and it's definitely something that is overlooked by many and that's rarely focused on. So today I'm going to dispel some myths and give you the actual tools to help you with this with your surfing, including some on-land drills, some in-water things, and at the end of this video I'm going to share with you the #1 drill that you can use to improve your cross stepping, so stay tuned for that. And if you are new here, my name's Ben Considine and I'm a professional longboarder, a surf coach and a physiotherapist or a physical therapist depending on where you're from, and I created a platform called longboardsessions.com to help people experience the best in their surfing, and today I'm here to help you unlock the best in your surfing no matter where you're at. If you do find this video valuable, then feel free to subscribe as well as share it to anyone else who also might find it valuable. And if you are wanting to look into this even more, at longboardsessions.com we have a full framework with a step-by-step checklist and videos which will take you through every step of the process, improving your balance, improving your cross-stepping, so that there's no stone left unturned. Let's get into the video. So it may be in the past that you've actually had a really good cross step and you thought, how did that happen? And it's been really difficult to get again. Well, in that instance, it may have been that you actually lucked into a few of the key ingredients that we're going to speak about today. And so today we're going to give you a formula and give you a recipe for being able to do that again and again, maintaining good balance with your cross step. Probably the biggest thing that I see with the cross step and balance online is people providing exercises and balance drills at home, which are supposed to mimic what we're doing in the water. But as a physio and again as a surf coach, I've been able to blend these worlds and actually provide some really valuable insights into why that might not be working and what we can do, the actual things we can implement that will make a difference in your surfing. There are 5 things that we're going to be covering today, and I'll explain the reasons behind why we use them and exactly how to do them, and oftentimes why these fancy and sometimes complex balancing drills just aren't cutting it. So as a physiotherapist, oftentimes I'm testing balance for the general population, and there's actually a test we use called the CTSIB, which actually changes the environment in which we're balancing to make it harder and target different systems. For our balance, we've got 3 different systems that challenge our balance and allow for better balance: the visual system, the vestibular system, and the proprioceptive system. And when we're testing this as a physiotherapist, oftentimes we start people nice and simple, where they're balancing with 2 feet on land, and then we, over time, make it more complicated, where we might get them to close their eyes or put on some vision goggles. And lastly, we'll put them on unstable surfaces, which will test their proprioceptive system even further. So as a physiotherapist and a surf coach, I know that if we actually try to challenge people's balance by making it harder on their visual system and harder on their proprioceptive system, we can actually make it easier to balance and to cross step if we try to focus on improving the stability and visual system as well. And so while some balancing exercises might work for the right person, if we do need to focus on our balance as we age especially, but by actually focusing on how to make things more stable, our balance will be significantly improved, and this is often the #1 variable that will improve people's cross stepping, not the balancing exercises on land. All of this is grounded in good science, and it's simple and it works by decreasing how much your balance is actually going to be challenged. So the first thing that we notice with our cross stepping and why we might be coming off balance is our eyes are down, and this is the part of the visual system that we do need to make sure we're getting on top of. It might sound quite simple, but what we really want to be doing when we're cross-stepping is, I know we want to look down to see where our next foot is going to land, but we do need to make sure that we keep the eyes up. If we can keep the eyes up and we know exactly what's in front of us, then we're actually going to have better balance. And the thing about surfing is it's dynamic. It's never going to be a stable surface. And so whilst looking down when you're practicing on land might be working okay, it won't be as much on water. Now, the other thing that I do here, which I don't agree with, is that we have to keep our eyes up at all times. I like to have a checking system where if we're about to step, we can look down and make sure we look back up quickly, but looking down to see where that foot will land, and then we can bring it back up as we're going to take that step. So again, we keep that visual system focusing forwards. Something that I like to make reference to and refer to as well, and something that we created at Longboard Sessions, which is free for you to go have a look at, is the Longboard Continuum map, which is exactly the things that we want to be doing and learning in which order. We can see, which we'll go through in a second, that cross-stepping is actually an advanced skill. So this is in the advanced section. We want to be getting all of these things right before we approach cross-stepping. Specifically, making sure that we have our foundational longboard stance correct. You can see this if you go into the improver level of Longboard Continuum, and this will have the feet right and making sure that the eyes stay up and everything you need to know there. Now, the second thing is going to focus on decreasing the challenge of balance and proprioception when we're cross-stepping on the board, and this is going to be our position of the board on the wave. This will make things far more stable, so let's dig into it. Now, the first thing I want to say is if we're learning to cross-step on the wave at the very bottom of the wave, this is often a really tricky thing to do because the bottom of the wave is where we lose speed and it's also where we are really off balance. And so if we're trying to cross step at the bottom of the wave, but we're focusing on some balance exercises at home, there's almost no amount of balance exercise we can do at home to ensure that that surface is going to be stable enough, especially if we put this in conjunction with a couple of the other errors that we'll speak about today. It's not necessarily just your position on the wave, but it's the angle that you're taking on the wave. If the beach is in front of me here and I'm trying to cross step forwards, there's going to be not much stability. So what I like to focus on first is to make sure that we can keep the board going nice and smooth. And we do this by engaging the inside rail to turn across the wave first. And then when we're going across the wave, I like to think, how far down the wave is the nose pointed? The further down towards the bottom of the wave that the nose is pointed, the more likely we are to get unstable, increase our risk of nosediving, and just not have a whole lot of balance. So the best thing that you can do initially is to make sure that the board tracks a little bit more across the wave and coming higher on the wave as well. This is going to engage more of the inside rail into the water. We're going to carry more speed, and this helps to have that coander effect over the rail to make sure that the board is more stable. Again, if we come back to Longboard Sessions and we go into our advanced section, we can see that the starting point of the Longboard Continuum map of cross-stepping actually focuses a whole lot on our beginner wave position. So this is going to be how we actually make sure that the board is on the right part of the wave to stabilize before we step. This comes first and foremost before we go into anything with regards to actually performing the forehand and backhand cross step. Really important. Now, the next thing that we do need to cover is going to be our positioning so that we actually make the board track faster as well. If you go back to last week's video, we spoke a lot about how going slow on the wave can inhibit our performance. Like a child learning to ride a bike, if we're going really slow, things are going to be unstable. If we go faster, we have more momentum, a little bit more speed, and things are going to be a lot more stable. Plus, this will improve that coander effect of the rail on the water to make sure that our board is more stable. So the next thing we're going to do once we've actually engaged that correct line across the wave is we're going to come into a nice trim by leaning more onto the front foot first, accelerating, allowing the board to accelerate down the wave, and then as we need to, leaning further onto the inside rail. If we have too much weight on the outside rail, we're going to dip down towards the bottom of the wave where things will become more wobbly. And if we're leaning on the back foot, then of course that's the maneuverability center of the board and things will be less stable and slower as well. Looking at Longboard Continuum, if we bring our attention to that second component of the cross-stepping map, we have beginner board position. Okay, so this is how we're going to set the board up on the wave properly so that we can actually improve our stability. And again, this is going to have a much more significant improvement in your balance than the at-home balancing exercises. What that will look like is you're going to make sure that as you engage that inside rail and that line across the wave, we're going to lean forwards over the front foot. Really simply put, thinking about that front foot as the accelerator, and this is how we're going to establish a better connection of the board traversing across the wave face cleanly, rather than stalling too much and holding back here, which is what I see a lot of people doing as they're starting, because they may be thinking it's easier and less chaotic if the board is going slower. But I can tell you, if we're accelerating and engaging the rail, that's going to be the optimal position for you. Now, the next thing, and this is a big one, is again, making sure that we're actually stepping into a more stable part of the board. Something I'm really big on teaching is thinking about the cross step as not only a way to get to the nose, but as a really good key that gives us access to different parts of the board. So using it to get from the tail to the middle, from the middle to the tail, and it's going to be a clean transition of weight up and down the board. So for the moment, if we're learning the cross step, we're not learning it to go to the nose, we're learning it for the sake of improving our stability with the cross step. So the best thing to happen here is to make sure as we're starting, we make sure we pull ourselves back to the tail. And so if we're learning this and want to create the most simple and basic and optimal environment to cross step, it makes sense that instead of cross stepping into the most wobbly part of the board, we cross step into the most stable part of the board. So starting at the tail is going to be a massive one. Now, just before we go into the last step, which is arguably one of the most important things that I think can improve someone's cross-stepping, I just wanted to mention that at longboardsessions.com, do feel free to check out the Longboard Continuum maps. This is the exact process we like to use to teach people how to go from A to Z, all the way from the first ever pop-up through to hanging heels. And it includes everything with regards to what we're speaking about today in so much more depth, including a bunch of points that we might be missing, as well as the platform. It's a really, really good community and I love helping you out there. So if you do want to check that out, the maps are there for free. And then we've also got the membership to teach you everything that you might want to know with this sort of stuff and get you actually implementing it and improving today. So going into the last drill, and the drill that can really, really make a difference for your surfing, is going to be the step and replace drill, or the step and replace method that I really like to make sure we're utilizing to improve the balance of our cross step by stepping into the right part of the board. So the way that this will look, instead of keeping that front foot further forwards and far away from our back foot, we want to land ourselves in the middle of the board again after the first two steps. Now we might have shuffled back and that's good, but again, sometimes we can slow ourselves down too much. So the best thing to do is to accelerate, building speed, and then we're going to step back and replace where that back foot was, okay? And this is about creating space on the board, coming from a wide stance, stepping it back, and making sure that that next step is going to allow the front foot to then move into the most balanced part of the board, which is going to be in the center. Now, I've got a full in-depth tutorial on this on YouTube from a previous video, which will pop up somewhere here in a second. So if you want to go check that out, then feel free to. I hope that was really helpful. If you have any questions, then leave those down in the comments below. And if you have any physiotherapy or other balance related questions, then feel free to get in touch personally on my Instagram, which covers a bunch of this stuff with some educational content, as well as if you have anything else that you'd like me to cover on the channel, always looking for ideas. But that's it for today, and we'll see you on the next one. Yoo!